So for the first time in a good few years, Billy Joe Saunders was our last middleweight champion. He had the WBO. He relinquished it in 2018. I think he had it for a good few years, right? For the first time in a long time, our British middleweights are positioned to become essentially ruling the division. I'm going to just rub my eye while I say that because that's how patriotic I am, that it makes me tear up a little bit. God save the king and so forth. Look at it from the perspective, like the champions that we've got now, okay? Erislandy Lara. He is, what we got on the notes, 31, 3 and 3. Cuban, tricky, but he's about 100, okay? Denz is ranked number 5 for his WBA title. Eubank Jr. is ranked number 6. However, Eubank Jr., despite being the IBO champion, he's largely irrelevant to the British middleweight scene, despite being the big name for some reason, okay? He's focused on Ben. Maybe we see Ben come up at middleweight, but he is a small, tiny middleweight. Like, you know, you stand next to Denz or Brad, they're big boys. Eubank Jr. in this discussion, despite notably saying his rankings and that he is the IBO middleweight champion, largely pointless. So, yeah, Lara. Lara is susceptible, and with a ranking of 5, I would say that if Frank really wanted to, Uncle Frank, that is, Frank Warren, could get on the phone and say, let's make this fight for Denz. But, Denz has his eye on the rematch with Janibek, who is the WBO and IBF champion. He is the number 1 in the division by quite a long shot. He is the scary one. He's the one that looks like he rolls into town on the back of a horse, and honestly, you're under siege. The villagers are going to flee. He is a terrifying dude, and he's massive. He's massive. But Denz did give him all of the problems that he could possibly have handled. Arguably, Denz has done the best against Janibek. Yes, he lost the decision. Yes, he started too late. He started to believe in himself, and he caused Janibek absolute nightmares. Does that happen second time around? I personally think that Denz is a better fighter. He is the mandatory for Janibek's WBO. Not really ranked for the IBF, but take out Janibek and the WBO, you get 2 belts, you become the number 1 in the division. Janibek probably just says, oh, I'm weight drained, and moves on. Hopefully that nothing happened, right? Janibek is the number 1. Our boy Denz is aligned very, very heavily to be mandatory, and they will be calling that hopefully pretty soon, just to see Denz get Izzy and out. I don't know where they would do it. Hopefully they did that in Saudi. Hopefully they would do that on a Riyadh season card, because it would be good to see our boy get the P's. Then you got the last one of the division, WBC champ Carlos Adames. And Adames is 24-1. He's come up from light middleweight, and he's nicked the WBC title. WBC title, as we now know, on the 22nd of Feb, on that epic Bivol Better BF2 card, Hamzah Sheeraz, another Brit, is fighting for that title. So by the 23rd, or the 22nd, if you really want to be picky, by the evening of the 22nd of February, we highly likely will have a British middleweight champion once again. Okay, so we've got irons in the fire. Pause. Now, Sheeraz should bang out Adames in a few rounds. 4 rounds, 5 rounds, he should just swarm him. He's massive, right? Adames, big puncher. He hasn't got this. He hasn't got what it takes to beat Hamzah. So then we have one champion. Hopefully, praise Odin, praise anyone. Denz takes out Janibek. Maybe we have a little bit of a Ben, Eubank, Watson, Steve Collins, to a lesser extent. I think that was a weight above, but you know, I was young then, so young. But anyway, Ben and Eubank and Watson coming back, and we have a little bit of a middleweight round robin. Because again, coming up the pipe, right? So we got our top 3 middleweights. Hamzah fighting for a WBC. Denz mandatory for the WBC. WBO, high ranked on the WBA as well. Eubank Jr. already an IBO champion. That's a lesser known belt. He's not in this argument, right? He's not fighting any of them. It's done. He just wants the cash. But then coming up the pipe, Brad Pauls is probably a couple of fights from getting back, but Brad Pauls will give it to anyone on world level, and that's the same for Tyler Denny. Tyler Denny will absolutely give it. Yes, he got blown out by Hamzah. Maybe that's a sign of how good Hamzah is. Maybe that's a sign of Tyler's limitation. Either way, he will be able to, he's strong, he's fast, and he's tough, and he will give anyone a row. Coming up now, Kieran Conway, massive at the weight, has repaired hands, and he's looking good. I think that they're about to call an eliminator, or maybe even, I don't know, just let him fight for the British. He hasn't had that, and I know Denzel's vacated the British. So then we have Josh Kelly. So Josh is small for 160. He's had a couple of fights now at 160. I'm not sure what he does. Josh Kelly, from a skill perspective, when Josh Kelly is PBK, he's a handful, but he is small compared to the rest of those boys. You got like Nathan Heaney, Nathan Heaney, who is a big ticket seller. He's a fun fighter to watch. And again, on any night, he's a unit, and he can really upset the apple cart. And then our boy, Linus Udofia, double English champion, slick, fast, crafty. You know, these guys aren't world level yet, but it's not far. It's not a year, maybe. And then we've got another wave of emphatic British middleweight talent coming through. The next 2 years, the middleweight division will become British, and it will stay British for probably a considerable amount of time. And I'm kind of hyped for it, because it is one of the premier divisions in the sport. It's one of the divisions that actually sells, and it's one of the best divisions out there. They are the big small men, and middleweight, they are the mids. I'm absolutely and utterly for it. Can't wait to see what happens going forward.